Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 13 of What If Naruto Became the Greatest Puppeteer. Remember to get this one to 200 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was transported to Hoshirama's time and enjoy that guys over on Anime King 2. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King 2 and Anime King, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new, I'll be planning talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado guys, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, Naruto was shocked when he heard Hinata told him that one of the chakra signatures were in the village. As he quickly made his way over as he tried to alert the Hokage, explosions threw the both of them back violently as explosions started to cackle everywhere in the village. As Naruto got a worried look on his face, he quickly made his way out there as Deidara, the mad bomber, dropped a massive explosion on Konoha. As Naruto quickly summoned his largest puppet and grabbed the thing out of mid-air. The thing exploded her two arms, blowing them apart. As Kakashi landed on the shoulder of the puppet as he told her he would land this, as he turned all of his lightning attacks towards Deidara. Deidara was quite pissed why he had to get a lightning user as their battle started. Kakashi and the other Akatsuki members all flooded into the village as Kisame took on Guy. Kisame was sadly mistaken as he thought this would be an easy battle for him. No one has been able to test him so far, but Guy was a monster. As Naruto got caught and surrounded by the 6 paths of pain who declared themselves as gods, Naruto used every trick that he had with his puppets all around him at the moment, but they subdued them rather quickly as they had the sheer force of blowing them apart like they were nothing, throwing Naruto off guard by that. But Hiruzen arrived as Hiruzen backed up Naruto as he took on the paths of pain as 3 of them went after Naruto as 3 of them stayed with Hiruzen as Naruto led them in towards his house. As they came into a death trap as he was able to kill them when they entered his house by using various explosives and various traps. He brought down the building on the absorption path for the last one to destroy him. Jiraiya had landed on the battlefield where Hiruzen was. They started to face off against Pain. As Hinata faced off against Kakazu, Kakazu decided to make a quick retreat because his heart would be destroyed and there was too much of them coming. He was then sucked away by Tobi. Meanwhile, Itachi was facing off against little brother Sasuke. The both of them were clashing as Sasuke had the Mangekyo Sharingan clashing with his brother violently, but still, Itachi had bested him. As the both of them were panting heavily though, it was then he arrived as Tobi came there, as he told Itachi that Sasuke will be rather useful in the future. Itachi has been training for the past years now, trying to perfect to activate the Susanoo quickly, as he did in a blink of an eye, stabbing the blade right through Tobi and trapping him inside the seal forever. If he was going to go down, he was going to bring this Madara or Fake, whatever he is, with him. But that was the last of his energy using that as Sasuke. The battle had really taken a lot out of him as he collapsed down right on his brother, ending the life of Itachi Uchiha. Meanwhile, Naruto was sent sailing back after defeating the other paths as Tendo came and found him personally. The man started throwing Naruto around as Naruto tried to use his best distractions and his tricks. As Naruto used a distraction of Konan to catch a man off guard, but the man exploded out with his power, once again surprising Naruto as he blew everything away, ripping one of Naruto's arms off in the process. But in the end, Naruto timed it perfectly as Dame appeared behind him and smashed the Rasengan as Naruto pumped the last amount of power he had into Dame as it buried right into Tendo Pain, destroying him. As Naruto collapsed to the ground, one of his arms now completely gone as he passed out from the blood loss and the chakra drainage. So yeah guys, those basically as we left off. You guys can switch across to the place and check it out for yourself. So what is to begin this new episode? Hey, kid, you there? It's time to get up. As Naruto blinked slowly as he groaned, opening his eyes. As he felt like a house was dropped on him. As he looked up, checking the position of the sun. No more than 5 minutes since he fell unconscious. As he looked down, yes, his arm, or what used to be his arm, was gone. As he turned his head, feeling a bit lightheaded. As he looked back down once more and grimaced. What the hell did you put on my arm? He asked. Something brown and slimy was over the wound. It seemed to have stopped the bleeding. But it smelled like rust and animal guts. Toad oil, and be glad about it, Jiraiya said as he pulled the blood to his feet. That stuff got incredible restorative powers. How incredible, Naruto asked. But Jiraiya winced, regretting his words. Not that incredible. Sorry kid. Even if we were able to find your arm, there's no medic in this village that can reattach it. As he rubbed back his head. Well, Snavy could, but no, there's no use dwelling on what ifs. Something flashed across his face for a moment. It was guilt. But Naruto didn't have the energy or time right now. As he fumbled, trying to reach into his jacket with the wrong arm, he glared at it before using his good arm to grab a soldier pill. Kid, I'm not sure if you... Naruto ignored him and popped the soldier pill. Naruto, it's not healthy to take blood pills and soldier pills in quick succession. And I bet that you know that. Naruto says he felt a rush of energy. Yeah? You know what else isn't healthy, said Naruto. Losing an arm. But I guess we're trying all sorts of things today. Now hurry up, it hasn't been too long. So we might still be able to catch up. Catch up? What are you talking about, kid? The Akatsuki are gone. They up and vanished a few minutes ago. Pain, said Naruto. Who else would I be talking about? He had to be near to control his puppet bodies. No more than a mile away, I guess. This might be our only opportunity to catch up to him. Naruto, kid, don't push yourself. Naga, Pain, it's probably long gone by now. Don't push yourself. Just... Naruto turned towards him as he poked him in the chest. Stop calling me a kid. Now, are you going to act like your goddamn son you're supposed to be? Or are you going to stand there, looking helpless and guilty? If it's a former, then go grab a Hyuga. Tell them what they need to know, and help me find this guy before he's able to regroup, and do all of this again, because if you hadn't noticed, I only have so many arms to goddamn lose. As Jiraiya just stood there. If not, then go help the other ninjas searching through the rubble. I'm not gonna let this happen again. As Naruto found what he was looking for, dummy. Mostly undamaged body from where Tendo lay. A chakra scalpel lit around his hand as he sliced a clean cut through the puppet left hand. As Naruto cast a few chakra strings from his left shoulder as he connected to the arm. It was crude and makeshift, but it will do for now. As Dami was the right size as him because he always used for substitution. So the arm fit perfectly. But it was heavier. The fingers also moved less gracefully. And it didn't feel anything, but at least he had fingers again. Jiraiya looked torn to be impressed by Naruto's stubbornness, and also looked concerned at the team condition. This is almost concerned to come down to a fight, Naruto. Do you even have puppets left? As Naruto stared at him, okay, dumb question. You always seem to have puppets. But I'm not joking, if that is who I think it is out there, then we're gonna be in for a damn hard fight. Harder than this? I doubt it, said Naruto. If I know one thing about puppeteers, is that we always hide behind our puppets for one reason. If this guy is using proxies as emotion to Tendo's body, then he's doing it because they're stronger than he is. That, or he's afraid, either way. I'm not backing down, said Naruto. Jiraiya shook his head as his face twisted into a grin of determination. Fine. I'll grab the nearest Hyuga and go. But just me. No one else needs to be put at risk for this. Like hell, said Naruto. This guy tried to kidnap me and rip the Hyuga out of my stomach. Then he took my arm. Whatever personal thing you have to settle here, I don't give a shit. I'm going. Now hurry up and find the Hyuga before my pills wear off. Time skip. Naruto wasn't a big believer of fate or anything. But when Jiraiya met him at the wall with her, guess who I ran into, Jiraiya said. As Hinata gave Naruto a small smile. As she looked out in the woods, the person you're looking for is still nearby. I can see their chakra in the air. She hesitated a moment. He's the one who caused all of this. Their leader. She then glanced down. Her eyes widened. Naruto, your arm. He forced himself not to look and wave her off with his good arm. It's nothing, come on. If he's still close, we might not have much time before he gets away. As he quickly climbed up the wall, forcing the other two to follow him. As Hinata fell into a footstep beside him, running with him. As she glanced at his arm, as she guided him into the forest. He wished Jiraiya could find any other Hyuga. He didn't really need this right now. I said I'm fine, Hinata. He tried for a nonchalant grin. You know how good I am with limbs. I'll be able to whip up a new, better arm in no time. Well, as soon as he sorted out the mess of his collapsed building. Damn, he almost forgot that. As he glanced back at her, noticing her concern seemed to have shifted. What's wrong? She looked down a bit. So many people. I passed so many dead people. I thought I was used to it from the war, but I recognized so many of them. So many innocents. She looked up at him, as Naruto saw tears at the corner of her eyes. How could someone do that? Why would someone do that? Jiraiya chose that moment to reach into step with him. His name is Nagato. And before we confront him, there's some things you should know. It only took about 5 minutes sprinting to reach the cave where Nagato was. There was enough time for Jiraiya to fill them in about the man. The little kid that he found in the rain, with those legendary eyes, with 2 other orphans. His decision to stay and train them, eventually hearing that they had died. As Naruto kept quiet, that he still had Konan seal in a scroll in his jacket. It was Hinata who gasped first, as she caught sight of the man. When they came in there, they understand why though. Nagato was a shell of a man, as he was mostly bones than flesh, with a mop of red hair that was looking rather dull, and he was kept upright by a machine. As Naruto thought it was impressive that he was alive, there was at least a dozen chakra rods in his back. For a man claiming to be a god, it looked like a breeze would blow him over. The only thing intimidating about him was his eyes, that still gleamed despite his body. Those eyes looked at each of them carefully as they entered. Jiraiya Sensei, come to finish me off. I assure you, even with this frail body, I will not go quietly. Answers Nagato. I just want to understand what this all is about. What happened to you 3? Last I heard you were dead, and now I find you leading the Akatsuki. Speak for yourself, said Naruto. Towards Jiraiya. I am here to finish you off. You attacked my village, you tried to kill me, and you successfully took one of my arms. Jinchuriki, you have no idea what plans you derail with your struggling. As Naruto was royally pissed right now, his usual self-control was completely lost. He wanted nothing more than to kill this bastard, go home, and start to rebuild everything he had destroyed. He would have come alone if he thought he would actually do it alone, but he was still weakened in this state. Please, Naruto, said Jiraiya as he placed a hand under the shoulder. Let me handle this. As Naruto begrudgingly let him. What plans, Nagato? What could all of this has possibly been for? Rinnegan eyes narrowed for a moment before they got soft. Peace, Sensei. Exactly what you told us to strive for, said Nagato. Exactly what Yaiko fought for every second against Hanzo's tyranny. Exactly what Akatsuki has been doing. Peace, Hinata whispered, no longer being to keep quiet. You call that unnecessary slaughter peace? There was an unusual heat to her tone, and Naruto realized he would not be alone if he decided to go over Jiraiya's head with this and just kill this bastard. How could you justify killing so many innocent people? She didn't even flinch as he turned his full attention towards her. And how many died when Konoha and Kuma waged war? Shinobi preached that they keep civilians, customers, out of the line of fire. But tell me, what happened to the farmers when their fields are burned down to cripple a daimyo's income? What about the merchants, forced to take unguarded roads? Because the bridge was too important of a supply route, so it needed to be destroyed. Do not talk to me about innocent life, you, a Hyuga. What do you know of starvation or living out in the cold because 2 people, whose faces that you will never see, decided that a piece of land was worth drenching the other person's blood? He pulled one of his arms out of the machine and slammed it down in front of him. I was trying to create something real, something that will last. Not the fantastical piece of your book, Sensei, but something that could hold up in this world. Through death and violence, Jiraiya said, his tone filled with sadness and disbelief. Through understanding, said Nagato. Only people who experience pain can understand need for peace. With the Jinchurikis, I could have created a power, a weapon strong enough that everyone would understand. That is not peace, Nagato. That is fear, Jiraiya said. And then what? You're no god. You cannot live forever. What happened when someone else gets a hold of your weapon? What happened if it's used again? You think I'm so short-sighted, Sensei? I fully intend for the weapon to be used repeatedly. Jiraiya took a step back in shock, but Nagato continued. I understand human nature. People will forget their lesson. Pain will eventually fade into memory. Then the weapon will be used again by someone that doesn't understand, and it will create a new piece. A constant cycle with only a few thousand lives lost. In an instant, painless death. As he looked back down, daring Jiraiya to meet his eye. That is why I was blessed with these eyes, to grant my peace to the world of one who understands suffering. A silence covered the place for a while, until Naruto snorted. Do you honestly think that would work? He had only grown angrier and angrier through the entire dialogue. This stupid, idiotic, ridiculous plan is why I lost an arm? Now, I'm not just angry, I'm goddamn insulted. Nagato turned to retort, but Naruto didn't give him a chance. You do not understand damn thing about human nature. Sure, we're greedy and selfish, and what you describe will probably work at first. But you miss something pretty, bloody important about people. We really hate being told what to do. You think some goddamn weapon will make the world cower down and get along like some goddamn bunnies? You're delusional. We would fight constantly to destroy it. To destroy the one that uses it. You wouldn't be ending war, you would just be changing it. Face it, you have no clue whether this would ever work. When you do something like that, you can never see all the possible alternatives and you cannot control it. You think your eyes made you any different? Well, all they've done is blind you. As he reached into his jacket and pulled out a scroll, Jiraiya tried to stop him but Naruto shrugged him off. Please Naruto, this doesn't have to come down to violence. No sensei. Nagato called out. I think it does. It's clear that you will never understand my vision, he said, looking at Naruto. You will never understand the responsibility I bear. As he pulled his other arm out of the machine, folding his hand together in a ram seal. Hasn't enough blood been spilled today, Jiraiya pleaded. Hinata settled in her taijutsu stance beside Naruto. Nagato was the one to make the first move. Summoning jutsu. As there was a big poof. As that smoke was enough to make a boss toad summon. But the creature that emerged was something that none of them has ever seen before. It was a mix between a human, as it had 9 eyes, with 2 of them closed. It crouched around Nagato protectively, nearly filling the entire space with its bulk, as it looked down the 3 shinobi, and screamed. It moved forward, it was large enough to crush them with one hand. There was another poof. As Ashura came out, she smashed right into him. She was badly damaged already though, because of Tendo's final attack, as half her face was dent in. All Naruto needed was a moment though, and he and Hinata both rushed forward. His right arm came up, releasing flame from the mechanism that was on his arm. But Nagato blocked it with the force, but Hinata leaped over it. As 6 arms came from Nagato, as he batted away all of her Ryugen strike. Despite his frail, weak in appearance, he was fast. One of the extra arms lashed out and grabbed her by the wrist and threw her back. A chakra rod thrust after her the same second, but it was caught mid-air and slammed right into Nagato's chest. Nagato coughed up blood, with a shocked look on his face as he looked up, as Jiraiya was there. I'm sorry Nagato, but you've gone too far. Jiraiya let go of the rod, catching his former student as he fell back, no longer supported by the machine. Sensei, I tried, said Nagato. Yaiko, I never meant to. I know Nagato, I know. And I'm sorry for not being there for you 3, like I should have been. But Nagato was already gone, as Jiraiya closed his eyes. The creature then stuck, before it poofed away. Jiraiya breathed a long sigh before he stood back up. As he looked towards Naruto and Hinata, she had her head lowered respectfully, even if she didn't understand why. But Naruto was observing Jiraiya, and with the red markings on his eyes have extended. You two should head back to the village. There's going to be a lot of work to do after all of this. I'll deal with everything here, he says. He looked at Nagato's body. Naruto wanted to question him about the certain power that was around Jiraiya at the moment, and was slowly fading away, but Hinata took his hand and started to lead him away. Come on, she said. They're going to need all the hands they can get. He hesitated before allowing himself to be led away, as he left Jiraiya to his mourning. Yeah, said Naruto. Because if I have anything, it's a lot of hands. Time skip, Konoha was what it was, buzzing with life and activities. If you would look closely though, you would see that there was still a small trace of what happened 2 years ago. Buildings scattered across the village that were clearly newer than the rest seem across the streets where a crater has been filled in, but they faded back into the background of Konoha. Yes, it has been 2 years since the attack from the Akatsuki. Hanabi breathed it all in with a smile. Alone for the first time. For over 2 years she had to suffer under the watchful eye of a chaperone, constantly following her everywhere. Finally though, her father relaxed his overprotective hand and let her make the trip to the academy by herself. Because today was the exception, today she became an adult. It had been strange at first, being a year older than the rest of her classmates, as she was known as that girl that was kidnapped. She heard plenty of rumors that she was actually a Kumo spy, or that she was some kind of disgrace to her clan for being a year behind than everyone else. They were a child's suspicion, though, and as much as she wanted to say they didn't bother her, it still cut deep. She had made no friends in her class, but she quickly silenced them by raising to the top of everything. It had taken long, and soon she was moved back to a class for her own age group. She thought that things would be different there, but she should have known better. Children are children, a year hardly made a difference. She was still the outsider, the weird one, and always will be. They expect her to be the Cole clan child. So she gave them exactly that, as she rose to the top of that class as well. But the victory was a hollow one. She missed the companionship that she had with Naruto, and she missed him as well. He had been always around the compound since he rescued her from her so-called kidnapping. But recently, he has been on missions a lot. He was outright now, she believed, somewhere in Kiri. Since the Akatsuki invasion, Konoha went under a long period of redevelopment, and part of that was strengthening old ties with their latest comrade. They were more welcoming than the San, and joint operatives between two villages were almost commonplace now. Both were village in recovery, and both of them had a great deal to benefit from one another. One day she would convince Naruto to convince her to meet Terumi. As the first female Kage, she was an inspiration to all, kunoichi everywhere, and she was supposed to be an unrivaled beauty, and a powerhouse as well. Hanabi wanted to see if that was true, especially after since she found out about Tsunade Senju and what the Slug Princess had been up to all these years. That was a kick in the stomach if there ever was one. As she made her way into her classroom, most people glanced at her but they never said anything. As she went and had a seat, as she picked out a book and started to read. She was here when the attack happened 2 years ago. As they were forced to stay here, well, she knew that if she went out there wasn't much that she could do. As the rest of the kids were happy about finally becoming Genins, as she touched the headband around her neck, a little tribute to her sister. She wouldn't put her on her forehead because she had a seal on her forehead, the gilded cage seal, as it has come to be known. As she was snapped from her thoughts when Aruka came into the room. As he started to congratulate all of them, he then moved on to what they have been waiting for, the team placements. Bit of an unusual situation this year, he said, as he glanced towards Hanabi, with the Rookie of the Year also being the Kunoichi of the Year. So the team placements were a tad more unpredictable this time around. This time, the Hokage decided that Team 7 should be those students who came last, first, and in the middle of the pack respectfully. So, if Hanabi Hyuga, Asashike Hayato, and Mogumi Aoi could please stand up, your sensei is... Hanabi had stopped listening a long time ago, when the blonde hair came into the room, as she saw that blonde hair, as blue eyes. The person smirked at her. It took her a moment to realize her teammates were staring at her, so she quickly got to her feet, as Naruto escorted them outside, and led them away from the other Jonin senseis outside. Finally, out of sight of everyone else, he turned the class hands together. Well, this should be fun, he said. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and well, it remained to be seen if I'm going to remember any of your names, so I'm not going to bother to ask. Hayato snorted, resting his hands on the back of his head with a smirk. Aggressive, average shinobi, only really excelling in genjutsu. He was one of the louder voices Hanabi learned to tune out. Your scared tactics don't work on me, dude. My big brother told me all about the tests Jennings has to pass, and about the test site games Jonin like to play. Well, dude, did your brother also told you I don't give a crap about what you think he knows? As he took a step forward, and despite his swagger, Hayato stepped back slightly. And if I say you three aren't going to be ninja, you won't. Tuh, whatever. As he tried to act brave, Aoi said, raising her hand shakily. There was no wonder why she was the dead last this year. Most of the class were convinced that she didn't even want to be a ninja. The only thing she had going for her was barely decent chakra control, and even then her clones always came out a bit shivery. What did he mean about her second tense, she asked. Simply, he said as he turned towards her. With a calmer look, it reminded Hanabi about the time he would go into lecture mode, of what she called it. The academy test is there to determine the skills if you have to become genin. My test is to see if you know how to put those skills to use. Shoot, dude, Hayato said. We will ace whatever tests you have planned for us. Well, can't follow your optimism, said Naruto. I'm supposed to give you a day to get ready, but I don't really want to waste any more time if you guys are not worth it. So I'll see you guys in training ground 11 in half an hour. Well, he said. Get going, he said. As the other two scattered immediately, leaving Hanabi looking at him with her arm crossed. As Naruto looked at her and grinned, surprised, he said, You said that you were in Kiri on a mission. Well, it wouldn't have been much of a surprise then, now would it? He asked. She huffed before a small smile came in her face. Surprised or not, it was a pleasant one. She would be lying if she said that she wasn't worried about who her sensei might be. Would they be like everyone else, holding her at arm's length? Or assume that she was already far enough that they wouldn't need her attention? Would they be weary of her father and formality get in the way? Yes, that was exactly what she thought. But she knew with Naruto none of that won't be a problem. How did you even manage this? He shrugged. He always did this when he pulled something over her. You can say I pulled some strings, he said. That was terrible, she said, as she stepped back. Jonin sensei, I guess that kind of suits you. He really has changed ever since the pain attack. Nearly 18-year-old now. He towered over her 4'7" height. As he wore his flat jacket over a padded shirt that she knew contained many compartments, many pockets, as she thought that he wanted to show off his prosthetic arm. A dark grey design to blend with shadows. It looked like uncovered muscle, with thick joints, and more flexible than other counterparts. And it had so many chakra points inside of it, even as many as all of the points inside all over his body. Lately though, he no longer used long sleeve to cover up his movements with his fingers when he was using his strings, as she thought that it was a sign of confidence, even though some might thought that it was cocky. But no matter what he did, this was a sign that he was the best at what he did, the best puppeteer to ever live. After all, people has always doubted him to believe that he can pull off this, but he proved them wrong and now he was the best at what he does. Naruto snapped her from her thoughts. Who said anything about Jonin sensei? You still have to pass my test. What? As he continued to stare at her. You're not serious, are you? Oh, am I? He asked. 23 minutes. Your waste is invaluable. Preparation time. Her eyes wide as she rushed off towards the training ground, as she missed Naruto's small chuckle in her haste. Oh yeah, he said. This is gonna be fun. Moments later, she found her teammates already there, waiting for her. Finished getting the inside tips from the sensei, Hayato asked. I don't know what you're talking about. We were just catching up, she said. Whatever. I recognize him, you know. Really? How nice of you, she said. Yeah, I do, Hayato said. I know you're pretty friendly with him after he rescued you from Kumo. My big bro know that K guy who defected here, and he told me all about it. And what's your point? Hanabi asked. Nothing. I just find it irritating that our senseis are playing favorites. For someone that heard of Naruto, you don't know about him at all, do you? If you think you go easy on me just because we know each other, you're a bigger idiot than I thought. Whatever, he said, trying to play it off. We really shouldn't be fighting, Aoi said. Not if we're going to be teammates. Well, Hanabi said. Like Naruto said, that remained to be seen. Hayato scoffed. What? That second test scrap. It's a crock. My big pro told me just to psych it out. Every Jonin does it different, but they're all the same test. They throw us a different target, something impossible, and make us try to fight amongst ourselves. All we have to do is show a little teamwork and we're golden. You sound pretty certain, when you already established that you know nothing about Naruto. Oh yeah? Then what do you think it will be? She shrugged. It won't be purposely impossible, but it will force us to think outside the box. You're right though, he probably tried to split us up, and working as a team would be in our best interests. I know personally how strong he is, and none of us will stand a chance alone. Saying that, we should be okay, as long as he doesn't decide to use what Naruto asked. Appearing behind the three without warning, the two of them jumped except for Hanabi. She was too used to this by now. When she didn't answer, he clapped his hands together. Well, I gave you half an hour, but seeing that we're all here, let's get started, shall we? As Hayato and Aoi looked towards his left arm, with the excitement of their team placing wearing off, it became noticeable. The test is pretty simple, said Naruto, as he brought out 3 bells tinkling as he dangled. There are 3 bells, all of you. Have 1 hour to get one, and those who do, become my students. Those that don't, well, back to the academy for you. As he tossed one of the bells towards Aoi, who caught it. Just to make things interesting, I'll give one to you to start with. And also, I'll give the rest of them to my assistant here. As he pulled out a scroll, Hanabi groaned as she placed her fingers behind her back, hoping that it was not the one that she hoped it was. Please don't be Inari. Please don't be Inari. Please don't be Inari. Please don't. God damn it. Of course it was Inari, she said. She was Naruto's most recent and favorite puppet. While her 2 teammates recoiled at a strange puppet, Hanabi went over what she knew about it in her mind. It was probably Naruto's most favorite comeback puppet. It had 9 fluffy tails behind it, and 2 fox fluffy ears at the side of her head. She was dressed in scandiest silk, and it was quite beautiful. She was Naruto's most beautiful and unnerving creation, as this puppet was a peak of everything that Naruto has learned so far. Many Hyuga were shocked because when you look at it at first glance, it looked like a human. It even had the inter-skeletal system inside, because of the chakra threads going around inside of her body. Except she was much more than that, as the chakra system extended her tails as well. All 9 of them were like bright beacons when Hanabi activated her Byakugan. Naruto has never fully explained Inari's full abilities, even keeping something from her. But she knew each tail served a separate purpose. One of them was a refined cannon able to rotate out ammunition. between water, sand, fire, and other surprises. As Naruto stopped using her against Hanabi because she was a monster. Yes, Hanabi knew that. That puppet was one of the strongest that he had. Well, as far as she could see. Probably had something hiding in a secret or something. She never could last more than a minute in a serious spar with it. And no Naruto expected the three of them to go up against her. He tossed the bells up in the air and in his tails whipped out and catch two of them on her tips. As Hanabi knew that each individual ear can harden to become like a senbon, or turn into a mace to crush things. As he got that piece of inspiration from Jiraiya, if she didn't have enough reason to dislike the jovial pervert. Right, said Naruto. 3 bells, 1 hour. Any question? Aoi raised a shaky hand. Great. Good luck, said Naruto as he ignored her. And with that he vanished, leaving the 3 Jonin alone with the puppet. As the puppet smirked at them, Hanabi dashed back into the 3 limbs, as the other 2 ran after her. Inari didn't follow though, as she simply sat down beside the tree. As the bells dingled, as her tails were wiggling. I told you, Hayato said. I told you it would be a teamwork test. How do you figure, Hanabi asked? The bell he gave us is supposed to make us fight amongst ourselves, the obvious and easy target instead of fighting a Jonin. So all we gotta do is make a token of teamwork against that thing. Alright, Hanabi said, what's the plan? Our most gracious leader. Hayato gave her a glare but he didn't rise to the bait. Well, you know this guy best, so you should run interference on that. It's a puppet, she said. Whatever. I'll stay back here, offer range support the kunai. I'll leave Aoi to swipe for the bells. Me? Aoi said. Why is that my job, she asked. Because if you were throwing the kunai, me and Hanabi would have to constantly watch our backs. Hanabi and I, said Hanabi, correcting his statement. She didn't even bother to argue on Aoi's behalf because Aoi was a terrible shot. Whatever, he said. On 3, break. As he motioned. As the other 2 dashed off, as Hanabi was left by herself. She thought about going out there herself, but she was against it. She still didn't know what kind of game Naruto was playing here. Instead, she brought out a scroll and unfurled it. As she slammed her hand down, revealing something. She might have been nowhere near his level, but 2 years was nothing to scoff at. This was still technically a prototype puppet, but she think the element of surprise that she would have over him would just give them a slight edge. Unconventional was a certain best way to describe Kasai. As the puppet walked out to the open field, well, not so much walk, glided. With a feminine silhouette, it could almost be called humanoid if you squinted, as it looked like it was made up of gaps between them, because the puppet body was not fully connected. It was the chakra wires that went through the bodies that made it look wide open, but when she run chakra through it, that is when you could see the silhouette of a human. Blue flames filled out the body of the puppet as her chakra run through the wires, as the 2 bulky hands were hanging at his side. A feminine chest and a hollow face that looked like someone had scooped out the top half. As Kasai hovered on the field, Inari tilted her head. It was Naruto humor in her. That's new, Naruto said, pitching his voice up so it sounded like a feminine voice, and he threw it, so it seemed like the puppet was talking. God, it was creepy when he did that. It made the puppets feel so much more alive. Surprised, she said, throwing her own voice. Inari then got to her feet, as she stood in a Jayugen stance, mocking Hanabi to come. Kasai did her best, while Hanabi did her best. Being a bundle of wires framed together by some sturdy wood, she was difficult to be damaged, because she was rather flexible, and her limbs could extend because of the wires, and she also had a few tricks up her sleeve. As Hanabi moved forward her puppet and make it try to strike, but Inari simply flicked it to the side one of his tails. A hail of kunai flew from the forest towards Inari. 2 of her tails simply flicked up and batted them away like they were nothing. Hayato might as well not throw anything at all. It certainly wasn't the distraction they were hoping on, as Aoi was already bursting out of the tree line. In a last-ditch effort, as Kasai lunged forward, the blue flames vanishing from her body in an instant, the entire puppet seemed just open up, as she formed a human-like net shape to envelop Inari. That was her true purpose, to envelop her opponent like some suit, so that Hanabi could capture them. A potent poison was inside, so it can subdue the person inside, not that it would do Inari anything. For a moment, Hanabi thought that it might work. Aoi made a grab for the bells, only for the tails to move out of the way. Kasai wasn't really created for capturing extra limbs. After all, humans doesn't really have that. Suddenly, Inari vanished, and it was Hayato inside of Kasai, shocking them. He only had time to yell before he was knocked unconscious from the jugs going through his skin, cursing. Hanabi didn't bother to let him out, as she just pulled him back to where she was, with Aoi as well. Only then she released him as she jabbed him with a senbon, code to the antidote. He woke with a start, blinking confusedly. What the hell was that? Inari, Hanabi said. The puppet substitute with you. What? It can do that? He glanced at Aoi. Can it do that? She looked just as disbelieving. But in the academy they taught you that you couldn't substitute with a person unless they let you. Not unless you could completely overpower the sheet of chakra that covered every shinobi, Hanabi said. She should have seen that coming. And trust me, Naruto is more than powerful enough to do that to a fresh academy graduate. If he could do it, it was safe that his puppet could do it as well. What caught her off guard was that he substituted through the natural chakra field of Kasai when he was trapped. He was still so far ahead of her, and it was a bit degrading when he pulled stunts like this. So what now? Aoi said. We keep on trying, said Hanabi. Time skip. With every 5 minutes that passed near, scratch another long line in the bark of the oak tree. There were 11 lines, as their time was almost up. The three graduates stood as they were panting in front of the puppet. Aoi braced herself against her knees, while the other two stood upright, but they were tired as well. Nothing seemed to work on the puppet, or at least they weren't faster or strong enough to make their plans work. With 2 minutes ago, Naruto came out behind his creation, as he grinned at the three of them. Well, home stretch. It's gonna be Aoi who become my student, said Naruto as she was the one that had the bell. As he had a small timer that ticked with each second they linger. Nice try, Hayato said, but you won't make us turn against each other. The moment he said that, a Senman launched into his back, and one launched into Aoi's arm. Both fell to the ground unconscious, as a tired Hanabi walked over and wrestled in Aoi's pocket as she pulled out the bell, as the egg timer went off. Congratulations, said Naruto. Took you long enough. You couldn't have done that earlier, so we could have saved some time. So, it was a trick, she said, as she was relieved. It was like gambling the end there, weighing Naruto's personality against Konoha's value of teamwork. Of course it was, said Naruto. Can you really see me with a team? I petition the Hokage to take you on as an apprentice. And with this, he said, pointing the other two, was the only way he could agree. No, I can say they failed to meet my standards, and still take you on as a student. Honestly, I thought you worked out sooner. I suspected, she said, as she crossed her arms. But sometimes it's hard to tell with you. And perhaps, maybe I want to try my hand at going at the bells myself. You always told me to use every resource available in a fight. She motioned to Aoi and Hayato. Still, it's a bit harsh, isn't it? They might have made Jenny if it wasn't for me. She didn't really like any of them, but Aoi was earnest with everything she did, and Hayato was a passable ninja. Don't worry about that, said Naruto. The whole back to the academy thing was a scared motive. Konoha isn't in such a hurry to throw away talent. Jenny, who failed the second test, get put on the reserve list. They will be placed on Chunin teams, and a few Jonins. Get them up to standards until they can take the exam. Most of them go on to form the bulk of career Chunin. It's not all that glamorous, but if they show promise, there's nothing there to stop them from growing higher. Oh, Hanabi said. That must be a well-kept secret because no one have ever told her that. So little fate, my young apprentice, said Naruto. So, I'm really? He patted her on the back. Yep, you got me all to yourself again. You better get home. I suspect your sister is biting her nails in anticipation. I expect to see you bright and early tomorrow for our missions. Her eyes gleamed in anticipation. Missions, real missions. She was a real kunoichi. She rushed off quickly as possible. As she stopped at the edge. Oh, thanks Naruto-sensei, she said. Naruto master, he said, as her face fell flat. Not a chance in hell, as she rushed off. Time skip. Konoha might have not changed, but it was still different. Think, perhaps. 2 years was a lot of time. Time enough for most to mourn, forget, and move on. Still, things were missing. A yakisoba stand that he used to eat meals at were gone, as the building was crushed under the sun. But new scenes, new buildings, everything were coming in. Well, except for a few things that remind him of him, as he ducked under the small flap. As he breathed in the heavenly aroma of noodle. They were a proud lot, Toki and Ayam, and they would have never accepted his help. It had taken a few secret donations for them to extend their business into this restaurant. Despite that, he still had that homely feeling that he felt when Hokage first took him here. Naruto-chan, Ayam greeted, as she flicked her cloth as he sat down. What's up with you, she said. You hardly visit anymore. As she crossed her arms. What, Ichiraku not good enough for you anymore, she asked. Just busy, he said. We both knew it could be worse. She rolled her eyes, but she was thinking about the period when he just stopped coming around entirely. For almost 2 years in fact, when he became so engrossed in his puppets, he stopped coming around. It took Sakura's death to make him come back, seeking something familiar. And these people welcomed him like it had been a day. He still wasn't sure he deserved that kindness. Sure thing, Mr. Big, responsible Jonin-san, she said, as she called into the back for his order. Got it, the muffled reply came from the kitchen, and tell Naruto he doesn't visit enough. She gave him a pointed look before she smiled as she returned to her other customers, leaving him to his thoughts. His fingers tapped against the counter before he stopped as he saw the looks that he was getting. But it wasn't because of the Kyuubi, it was because of his arm. For a time after he lost a limb, he tried to make prosthetics like his old arm. But it doesn't matter, people always notice anyway. There was just no capturing the texture of real skin. So, he gave people something to look at anyway. As he got his ramen and started to eat, not devouring it as his younger self did. As he thought about what else happened since the Akatsuki assault, he wasn't lying, he was busy. First he was recovered, getting used to his prosthetic. As miraculous as Chakra could be, he never truly regained feeling in his arm. He knew when he was touching something and he knew how much pressure he should apply, but it was never the same like having a real arm. Sometimes he felt a phantom feeling, but the medics told him it was just a psychotic feeling, all in his head. It took a long time for him to get through that, and it took a long time for him to be able to work his puppetry through the arm. After that it was missions, lots and lots of missions. It was good thing the rest of the world was still crippled from the war, or they might have a little more than just some stone squabbles. Kira helped as well, as they intertwined their new friendship into something more rooted. Showing Hakuro and Konoha was kind of nice. Zabuza, less so. Although, things have settled back in their usual routine, normal for most at least, as things was quite boring to Naruto because before that, he was starting a war himself. Business as usual, lot of escorts, cleaning up and all that. He dialed back his missions to the most interesting, assassinations or dealing with rogue dangers. It left him a great deal of time to spend on his free projects, such as his spy network. It took a great hit after the attack, as he tried to save what he could from his old building, but much was lost. He was still recuperating some of those assets this day, but he had a lot more things to work on, like advancing his puppet arm to a different level. As he finished off his bowl as he placed the money down. Just the one, I said. I remember a strange little blonde boy who used to guzzle down a ramen by the bowl. And don't doubt I still would, he said, but ramen gotta be a treat now. Too much salt, raise the blood pressure, make my arm ache. One of the reasons why I love Ayam, even say something like that, she didn't look at him with worry or pity. She just tilted her head to the side, cutely. You should have said that. I'm sure between me and Pops we can whip something up. The super, Naruto medical salt. Let's solve something or something like that, she said. Don't trouble yourself for me, he said, scratching the back of his head. Hadn't they already given him enough? Trouble? The old man says he came from the kitchen. For our number one customer. Don't be ridiculous, Naruto-kun, he said. I've been looking for a new challenge anyway, he said as he pointed a large wooden spoon at Naruto. Don't think that only you ninjas have their goals to reach. So you better be sure to come back soon and give our latest creation a taste. Sure thing, Gigi, said Naruto. I'll even bring my little apprentice along. Introduce a new generation to the wonders of ramen. I like the way you think. Apprentice? My little adorable blonde is getting old on me. I can't wait to meet your apprentice, Ayam said, as Naruto chuckled, as he waved goodbye to them. As he stepped outside, he vanished in a body flicker. When he reappeared, he was standing outside, at the edge of a two-story house, at the edge of the clan compounds, as this was where he lived. He barely made use of it, well, except for the bedroom, kitchen, and study. Most of his work went on beneath the house itself in a series of sub-levels. He bought the plot and a bit of the surroundings after the Akatsuki attack. Some powerful dudes surrendered the ground and much of a smoking crater. It made the property cheap and building the compound below the house easy. As he stepped inside, took his jacket off and tossed it over to the side, as it landed on a nearby bed. As he made his way and stepped on a wooden plank, as he added chocolate to it. As the floor then opened up, as he made his way down there, as it closed behind him, it led down into a single large room. The place was more organized than his old shop. This was where he got most of his work done, and some of his more sensitive projects were down here. Everything else was up to the study upstairs, and it has his new library down here as well. A few doors led off to a few different locations, where he had poisons, storage rooms and all that. The only thing missing was a big room, but if he was honest to himself, he hadn't got most use out of the old one, after completing Azura. In all, it was about half the size of his old building. But it was a nice setup and it was starting to feel like home, as he nodded to a clone that was reading in the corner, as he settled down. As he moved forward to his prot, a strange orb hanging in front of his decks. It was unmistakably a human eye. Although it was larger than his hands clasped together, it was also clearly a Hyuga eye, although not a natural one. It was his latest project, Artificial Byakugan. It was the latest in artificial projects he had been working on since he got his new prosthetic. So far he has been having limited success. One didn't replicate the eye so easily, never mind a dojutsu. However, a few months ago he reached a small breakthrough. After a few months of testing Hanabi, he realized the beacon wasn't the eye at all. It was actually closer to a chakra sonar. It explained why they saw their world in black and white, as the eye didn't actually see anything. It was just how the brain interpreted signals. The bulging veins were a side effect of the extreme blood flow to deal with the output. It was a good thing the Hyugas did not see the beacon world in color. It would probably give them a lot of aneurysm. But the Hyugas already know this. That wasn't to say that Hayashi was happy when he learned about this, as it had led to a long argument, and anything Naruto learned while he was working on his project about the Byakugan, it had to keep a secret and share with Hayashi only. As Naruto told him that this would be beneficial to the Hyugas. After all, being a well-known clan, many people always try to best the Hyugas. Famous dojutsu, and most of them try to blind it in some matter. It resulted in a lot of half or fully blind Hyugas. They were the lesser known shame of the clan, cared for by the branch members. Most recovered a bit, but not always completely, as it was hard for them to deal with a world like that, seeing that their eyes were usually perfect vision and now they couldn't even see fully anymore. If Naruto would create something like this, he could give it to the portion of the clan that was vision loss. And if Naruto has learned anything, it was that the quickest way was to gain Hayashi loyalty by exploiting about his family and how much a man was loyal to them. Thankfully it worked, as Hayashi allowed Hinata and Hanabi to aid him in his study, and also keep an eye on him if he knew Hayashi as well as he thought he did. But Naruto really didn't mind. For once, he didn't have any alternative motive. He looked past it towards a large board behind his desk. Tracking down and eliminating the rest member of the Akatsuki was his goal since he got his life back in order. Pain, of course, was dead. Jiraiya confirmed it next time they thought, as he confirmed it by destroying Nagato's body so it didn't fall in the wrong hands. As Naruto rested a bit easier knowing that Rinnegan was just a myth once again. Sasori was gone, as Naruto found one of his old bodies in the scroll that survived his building collapse. Deidara was gone, and Itachi was gone, confirmed by Kakashi and Sasuke. As Naruto was impressed by the young and now last, officially, Uchiha accomplishment. But Sasuke said that his own memory towards the end of the fight was a bit unclear. But there was a body, and the hospital said that it was Itachi, so that was good enough. That would be another pair of eyes he would have liked to destroy, just to be safe. But that was Sasuke's decision. Kisame was a different matter, as he escaped Konoha with the rest of the Akatsuki. After the attack, he went on some suicidal escape or something, seeking out stronger targets to fight and kill. Eventually he ran headfirst into the Hatsubi Jinjuki and got himself killed in the process. Even now the ownership of Samihata was causing bad blood between Kira and Kumo, and that left Konan thinking about her left him with mixed feelings. Flashback. Naruto barely waited until she had completely revitalized herself from being unsealed. Pain is dead. Konan merely blinked at him. If you think that I would believe. Nagato, crippled, skeleton of a red head, former student of Jiraiya, like you, said Naruto, cutting her off. Had some stupid plan about cowering the world into peace with some super weapon. He's dead. The Akatsuki attacked Konoha and we repel, and now he's dead. Every word seemed to stab into her like a knife, and by the end of it, her head was hanging low. Then you come to taunt me and deride me, more than you already have. No, not really. I just thought that you had a right to know, and you wouldn't believe me if I wasn't so frank, now would you? Life suck like that sometimes, he said. Then what do you want with me? Just because the Akatsuki is dead and Nagato is no more, you really think I would tell you anything? I figured that much. And the thing is, I really don't have any other use for you. I have mapped out your chakra, and with enough time, I should be able to re-engineer how you control paper. Now I just have to figure out what to do with you. Then you should just kill me and be done with it, she said. I hate to see such a beautiful ability snatched out from the world. I may have figured out how it works, but there is no way I would reach up to your master of it. She glanced up at him, her eyes completely blank. Flowers will in the darkness and wither away, and that is what you have done to me, Naruto Uzumaki. You've stolen my remaining light. Don't get preached with me because you guys failed, said Naruto. I didn't ask to be a Jinjuki. That doesn't mean I was going to roll over and let myself get killed for some grand plan to bring peace to this world, as you guys claim. Her head dropped once again, even that little spark of determination a minute ago, vanishing once again. Yaiko's dream used to be so beautiful. We just tried to keep it alive, Nagato and I. We were shinobis, if not by village, but by tutelage. Killers trying to create something we have never seen before. As she looked up again and her eyes were filled with tears. Did we ever have a chance, she asked. Not my question to answer, he said. I suppose that is fair. Perhaps I'll get answers in a different way. Kill me, she said. I already said I'd rather not deprive the world of kill me, she shouted back. Because if I cannot have peace, then all I want is revenge. I don't care how long it will take. My remaining goal in life will be to hunt you down and kill you for taking Nagato away from me. As Naruto reached, as he pulled the syringe, it would be quick and painless, like falling asleep. As he held it out to her, "Are you a shinobi or a pharmacist?" she asked. "I never lie about the beauty of her techniques. One day, I'll make sure they pass on. Justifications matter little to the dead." She didn't even twinge as he pressed a needle into her neck. It took him a couple of months. Jiraiya had covered his tracks well. As he tracked down where the man had buried Nagato and Genko ashes, a small, nondescript plot outside of the hidden rain. Every second as he made Raina dig the grave, he wondered why he was going through all of this for a person who was his enemy. On a deep level though, he wondered if anyone would go through this much for him if he died. End of flashback. As he understood why though he respected Konan, she just focused on tasks that matter. She never rolled out any speech justifying what she was doing. It was rare that he understood people like that. In different situations, he could imagine them being, well, not friends, but some things. But he shook that thought from his mind. As he looked at the 4 remaining profiles, Toby, he had a sketch of him from the accounts that he found of the man, that he took away the other Akatsuki members. Given that it was just a swirly orange mass, that couldn't really help him. Zetsu, who didn't really take part in the battle that day, but there was a few corpses that had bite misnote of them from the autopsy. He must have gone underground because there hasn't been a single sighting of the man, and given his features that was hard to hide him. Hidan similarly vanished as well, despite that he had been rescued by Toby, but his features were rather nondescript. He could hide with just a bit of hair dye, but the reason was why did he want to hide? By all accounts, his personality was loud and brash. And then there was Kakatsu, who returned to his old bounty hunter ways. His constant moving around made it difficult. He was a mercenary by nature, and with Akatsuki paying his bills, he switched to the next person. "Oi," said Naruto as he called to the clone. "Switch." As he dismissed the clone, as he created a new one, as he went over and took the book, he didn't have to do all the personal stuff, at least. Time skip. Hanabi had to calm herself from bouncing up and down in place, as she waited on her new sensei, as he was standing amongst the people who were waiting for missions. She recognized a few people from her graduation class, but though, they were less than she expected. Did so many people really fail the second exam to earn a Jonin sensei? As their turn finally came, as Naruto stepped forward. "Exciting, isn't it?" the Hokage said. "I must say I do rather get caught up in it myself when this time of the year come around." "Nostalgia," Hanabi said, feeling unusually bold today. "Oh no, I'm afraid the mission and process was quite different when I was your age. First worldwide Shinobi conflict," Naruto said. "Under the tutelage of the second Hokage, I can only imagine." "Yes, well, I think I prefer it this way," Hiruzen said. "And you're in luck, there are plenty of D ranks left for the picking." As he motioned to a nearby Chunin, "You're specifically here to order the mission doxes for today." As Naruto remembered that job, having to suffer through it a few times himself. "We got supplies need to be delivered through a blacksmith and an armor." Naruto raised a hand though, as he looked towards the Hokage. "That won't be necessary. I'll be taking a C rank," he said. Hiruzen sighed as he tapped his pipe against the table. He knew this was coming. Hanabi realized why Naruto kept her at the back of the line until the others had come and gone. They were the only one left. "Naruto, we already had this conversation when you first asked me about becoming a sensei." "Good. So we don't have to go over the full points again," said Naruto. "I agreed that I would evaluate a full team, and if they fail to meet my standards, I could take Hanabi on as an apprentice. I even got Hayashi permission. Your only thing was that I couldn't brush off the team that easily. Do you feel I did?" "No, your report on each genuine feeling was more than enough. Thank you for that," he said. "Then what's the problem?" Naruto asked. "The problem, Naruto. D ranks are supposed to utilize and vitalize the teammate and their team working and showing them how to get things started. For other genin," said Naruto. "Or haven't you noticed, but Hanabi doesn't have a team. I assure you, her team will be more than adequate for a C-rank mission." She was surprised how polite Naruto could sound when he was disobeying the Hokage in front of a room of the man subordinates. "I'm here to teach my student, not babysit her through chores that are no longer relevant." Yes, she understands fully why he asked her to wait. Doing this in front of Hokage was a bit of a insubordination. Doing it in front of the other genin teams, yes, that would be really bad. Hiruzen sighed as he took a puff from his pipe. As he put the pipe down and looked at Naruto. "Fine, you have your C rank, Naruto, but if I find a single reason in the report that your student was unprepared or even overwhelmed, you will be on D rank for a year." "My student, you wish," Naruto said, as he took up the C rank. As he left the room, as Hanabi followed him quickly. "You have no idea the pain I just saved you. D rank or the hell of a genuine life. But while your academy friends are off, getting your face scratched by a demonic cat, we will be escorting a young noble from the capital to the land of fangs. How's that, said Naruto? How can you stand up to Hokage like that, she asked. Stand up to him? Where did you get that idea? You think I could get anything from the old man if he did not let me? Naruto just had to put up something convincing. For even that, he's probably already schemed up a way to get back to me. Then why do it? It's a matter of knowing when it's worth pushing. In this case, it was. Only the best, my apprentice, he said, as he finger flicked her. Hey, she said, as he walked off. Plus, said Naruto, D-ranks really suck without looking back. But guys, if you in subscribe right here, if you want the next part, if you don't know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto traveled to Hoshirama's time, and enjoy that, guys. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the anime making family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace. I'm out for you guys.